the Spilkins come from Rezica. That's a town in Latvia. It was quite a big town when I was there, with 2 stations. And the river Dvina, the huge river, running right from Riga, and from Petrograd, right down to the Baltic Ocean, at the bottom, to the Black Sea, I mean, ran through Rezica. Well, my father was a tailor. He was working for a man called Castle in Vilna. And he saw a picture of my mother, and he fell in love with the picture. And he did a remarkable thing to show you what an ingenious family you come from. He sent a wire to my mother, who lived in Odessa. My mother's family is Berkovich, and I think they were wine farmers on the Crimea. She worked in Odessa. She had a beautiful voice, and she sang on the public stage. That's where I got my tenor from. I also sang on the public stage. And he sent her a telegram saying that her sister was ill. She must come up straight away. Now, we're talking of the year about 1890 or 1893, I think it was. Can you imagine that then a woman traveled, a young girl, traveled from Odessa to Vilna, 4,000 miles away in those days. So she traveled by herself, came to Vilna. And when she came to Vilna, she found her sister was not ill, and that he told her a lie. And I believe she didn't get on with him at all. But he wore her down, he loved her, and he married her. They got married. And he worked for his brother-in-law, a man called Castle in Vilna. My father worked in Riga, and Max was born in Riga, my eldest brother. Betty was born in Vilna. I was born in Rezica, and so was Eli, my younger brother. My sister Betty, as I told you, was born in Vilna. I was the 3rd one in the family. Max, Betty, my son, there were 5 of us. Bertha was born in South Africa. She's 10 years younger than me. Well, now, I went to Cheder in Rezica. That's a theological school. You learn the Talmud and things like that. For example, every Friday afternoon, our teacher used to tell us a Bible story. So I knew all the incidents of, for example, Daniel and his lion's shield, and also Solomon, Samuel, and David, when I was a child, the stories. I was born in 1904 in Rezica, and I lived there until 1912. I was 8 years of age when we left Rezica for South Africa. Your people, Spilkin family, were quite comfortable. We were a very wealthy, I won't say very wealthy, we were a comfortable family. My mother had her own grounds, and in the ground there were 3 houses. In those days there were only wooden houses. And she had a bakery also. All belonged to my father. My father's father lived in one house, and we lived in another, and the 3rd was let, as also the bakery. And our house was right on the river. Our vegetable garden, we had every type of vegetable, onions, potatoes, lettuce, whatever you like to think of. It ran right down to the river. Right down to the river, the side of the river. And I used to play there, of course. Now, in summer, I used to sometimes go on the river on the logs. The logs would come down the river from Petrograd, or wherever it was. And in winter, it was frozen, and we would skate. I could skate at 4 years of age. I was 8 when I left Russia. I could skate when I was 8. By the time we left Russia, my mother was very comfortably off. Money. She even brought money to South Africa. My father was working here as a tailor since before the Boer War, and he used to send money every time, every month. And of course, in those days, the pound was very, very valuable. For example, for half a crown, you could buy 200 bags of meal in Russia. Just about. So we were my mother brought her own fur here. My sister Bertha has still got the fox fur that she's using. Not the fox fur, what they call it, not a sable, but I think and she also bought, when she came back, an ostrich feather from Russia. I remember it being in a metal case. And she was a very intelligent woman. she was also a revolutionary, what you call a Staatsdicker. She was against the government, the Russian Tsar's government. And they used to do all sorts of things. You smash railways and, you know, do just like the people do today. Anyhow, they used to meet, Mother used to tell us, in the bakery. And rather interesting enough, when we left Register in 1912, the Russian Minister of Justice was coming down from Petrograd to Register to start a pogrom. You know what a pogrom is? Cause of trouble for the Jews. But he died on the way, luckily, on the train. Yes? So we were spared the pogrom. In the meantime, my mother's brother went to America, Brother David. And he told her we must come to America. And he was arranging to get our passage to America. When my father's passage documents came to Register, you follow? Come to South Africa, so we came to South Africa. And we travelled from Register to South Africa. My brother Max went to a gymnasium, as you call it in Russia, a high school. And Betty used to go to a convent. My mother was very fluent in Russian and German. Betty spoke Russian and German. Max did Latin at school. We've got Latin and Russian books here, you see. And we were a very comfortable family. We travelled by boat from Libo to London. And I remember on the ship, they used to have, for the immigrants, they used to have one big container of herring. Another one was hot potatoes. And I remember being held by my legs to get the herring out of the tin. I remember that story. And I remember going through the Kiel Canal. That's how funny it is. I remember that. I was a boy of 8, you know. And we travelled from London, and we came by boat in the Gaika to South Africa in 1912. My father was in a tailor in a place called Somerset East, not far from Port Elizabeth. And we were there from 1912 to 1914 when we came to Port Elizabeth. I went to school in Somerset East in Standard 1 to a girls' school called Bellevue Seminary with girls. I didn't know English, of course, but I was obviously quite good at math, arithmetic, things like that. Anyhow, to cut long story short, we came to Port Elizabeth in 1914, and we've lived there ever since. My father had a tailor shop, and we lived above the shop. My father bought the building, and we lived above. He had his own building in Queen Street. I went to a school, and ultimately, I applied for I sat an exam for a scholarship to the Grey School, and I won a scholarship. So I started the Grey in 1916 in the new school. Incidentally, Sydney also won a scholarship, a Grey scholarship. And I was there from standard 5 right through to matric, 6 years, or whatever it was. I had a very happy, I was very strong. They used to call me the Russian bear. Whenever they called anyone a bloody Jew, I did the fighting. I was known as a fighter. I also boxed for the day boys against the boarders, representing the day boys.